Keep the hoodie, by the way. Not really. I actually know it is released. You can get those hoodies, this hoodie specifically, on No Sleep, of course. I don't exactly know the address. I should have prepared before I did that, but lovely hoodie, lovely clothing. Love the guys at No Sleep as well. Thank you for the free merch, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Group B, of course, yesterday. You can check out the link below. I'll try and remember, of Group A, and I've been breaking down player by player in each of these teams, in each of these groups, and the players that I think will potentially be the ones that can be the catalyst for their team, the ones to watch who could potentially help their team get into Pro League. And now we're going to move on to Group B. Yesterday I covered Group A. I said I will link it. I will link it below. I won't forget. I'll try not to anyway. But we're going to go on to Group B. Of course, I think Monday, Tuesday is when I'm going to put out Group C and Group D. But today we're going to go through Group B. So for me, Group B is harder to decide than A. A lot of people are saying A was the pool of death. But for me, I think Group B is a little bit more difficult to decide, specifically at the top anyway. I think there's one clear-cut team at the bottom in Giants here, but I realistically think the rest could potentially finish in the top 5, of course, and I think there's some teams that could potentially make some upsets in this one as well, so I think it's going to be super interesting, but let's get into it. We're going from top to bottom in the group in order of seed, of course. So first of all, let's talk about Lightning Pandas. And now, Alex is the player that I'm going to highlight for these guys, and I nearly highlighted Dave, but I had to move to Alex because I expect Dave, now that we've seen him at this level, to be performing as he did in Vegas time and time again. We've seen him do that over and over again the past few years. Maybe not so much last year, of course, but in previous years, he's been very, very solid. However, Alex is still a fairly new player. He had his breakout year last year with Unilad and then made the decision to join this Lightning Panda squad. Now, it was questioned by a lot of people, myself included. I thought leaving that former Unilad, now Reciprocity team to join this squad was maybe a little bit of a mistake. I think that was mainly down to the fact that a lot of these players in this team, of course, this team is Madcat, Petey, Josh, Alex, and Dave, of course, had a tough year last year, really, didn't they? And Petey hasn't really been around for a couple of years, but the game seems to suit him, and Josh didn't really have the best time of things. Madcat wasn't on form. Dave, as said, was in that Epsilon team that really just didn't look like winning the series all year long. So now that he chose to join that team, I was a little bit like, well, this is a big risk for him, but the risk does seem to have paid off. Alex at Vegas had the second best overall KD, joint with Arcities. He did play less maps, so say it's like third, really, and it's still super impressive, though. Very, very nice from Alex. If he can keep up these numbers, then LP will walk through this group, I feel. I think if they stay consistent to how they played in Vegas, then this should be easy enough for them. They did actually beat Envy in Vegas as well, so that's a good indication to see if they're going to finish first. But I think the thing is with Alex, he's super aggressive. He gets in people's faces. We know the numbers he can put up. He did it last year. He seems to be getting better as well. And he's got the experience around him, hasn't he? I think last year in Unilad, he didn't necessarily have that experience around him. And it was just, Unilad, one of these teams who would just run at you and be aggressive and cause upsets. But in this team, it's probably a little bit more expected that they put up a bit more of a challenge. But I think he has the experience around him. And if he can put up these numbers, we know these guys around him are going to do their job. So I think Lightning Pandas are going to look good, but if Alex plays well, I think they're going to look great. So my players to watch from Lightning Pandas is going to be Alex. Now, Envy, no surprises here. My player to watch is Hook. You have to talk about Hook. He was an essential pickup for these guys. We've seen the former AG, now Envy team, become world champions last year. A lot of people are still questioning how that happened, myself included. They came out of nowhere. I mean, nobody expected that to happen. I think they were like 100 to 1 to go on to win it. I mean, less than winning the Premier League, it was just as likely at this point. I mean, it was crazy to see them do that. But to make a pickup like Hook really put a statement down, didn't it? You know, these guys, as said, it was unexpected they won world champs, but add a player like Hook is a big, big statement. I do want to talk about their placement in Vegas, though. They got a top 12, which for me isn't really good enough. Then they finished bottom of their group, I should say, and they made a little run. But the only runs that they made are games they expected to win. It was against like UYU and teams like that, and I think it was Accelerate, guys like that. So you expect Envy to win these games, but then they went on to lose. I do believe it might have actually been against Lightning Pandas. I'll double check that quick. Let's have a look. Envy, yeah. So they beat 10 to Minds 3-0. They beat XLG 3-0. So yeah, Accelerate. UYU, they beat 3-1, but then they got 3-1 by LP. So as soon as they ran into any sort of competition, that's where it started to go a little bit south. So I want to see them pick it up a little bit. But for me, if Hook can perform to the level we expect them, I think they might be able to squeeze into second here ahead of G2 and Heretics. I'm going to talk on those guys soon. I really do feel as if LP are solidified in number one of this. But if Hook can play to the level we expected, he could be the counter to Alex potentially in their game against LP. Well, it'll be interesting to see. I'd still favor LP in this one. But as said, my player to watch from Envy is Hook. Just want to touch on his KD as well. And Vegas was a 1.18. 13th overall. Player to watch from Envy is Hook. Now, let's move into G2. G2 have improved a lot recently online. They didn't really play too well at Vegas. And I think the Methods pickup could be instrumental to that. And that's why I'm going to go with Methods being the player to watch in G2. I said they did have a poor time in Vegas and they just about finished top 16. I think it was a situation between them and Imperial. And I think there was like a dropped host when Imperial were up in some map or something like that. So it was fortunate circumstances, you could say. So they were lucky to finish as high as they did. But for me, I think a lot of people would have put them at around top 16 of Vegas, but it just seems as if online, however much stock you put into it, seems to be their playground at the moment. They played very, very well on the Pro Down recently, finishing second in that, and that's nothing to be sniffed at. Yes, you could argue that a lot of the teams in there hadn't really been practicing too much recently, and as said, you question the legitimacy, but realistically, it's still a lot better than they were doing previously online as well. Methods is a good pickup for them. I think we could potentially see the Methods of last year when we seen him arise picking up chips if they allow some time for this roster to settle in. They allow him to play his game. He's a very, very solid player, but it seems as if he's been put into teams where he is being expected to maybe change his role or do something different or put up these big numbers. But I think if they allow him to just play his game and put up consistent numbers, then G2 should be fine. I do believe they'll make Pro League. I think it's a toss-up between them for second, between them and Envy in this group, but I think it's a very, very tough group. I think they potentially got the chance of qualifying automatically, but I do believe they'll make a run through the bracket if needs be. But really want to watch Methods to see if he can bring that consistency to his game once again. Again, just to touch on his KD, 13th overall as well for him. He was joint with Hook with a 1.18, so that's decent enough numbers. And if he can do that again, you know, and he put them up actually in that FaZe squad that did not really perform very, very well. So he's now dropped into a squad who aren't necessarily of the high caliber of players of FaZe, but they have the potential to cause some problems. So my player from G2 to watch is going to be Methods. Let's move on to Heretics. Now, Heretics are a team I really want to see do well. I actually think they might do it. They're one of my outside shots to making Pro League. I think they've got a very, very solid chance, and they would be the first Spanish team to be in the CWL Pro League. Now, in the offseason, they locked in Metals, for a very long contract. And we really did start to see why in Vegas. We've seen aggressive play coming out of him, fantastic SMG player on his day, and he caused problems for a lot of good teams. I think the pace of him and the whole team is something to watch out for. They're very, very fast and cause problems. This is the thing why Metals in this Heretics team, they do have a player called Metals, of course, but Metals in this Heretics team, why they looked so good is because they just play so quickly and probably do things unpredictably. And that's why they became sort of one of these teams that a lot of the pro teams in Europe last year wanted to scrim against, because they did unpredictable things and it was hard to judge what they were doing. So it prepared you for these situations. And Heretics are a solid team, and they could cause some problems. I think he seems to be one of these players who just likes to get in other people's faces as well, and he will cause issues for a lot of teams. But I think another thing to touch on why I think they could potentially do it, they might even squeeze into second. They're one of these teams that could beat a G2, an Envy, or an LP. They could potentially do it. Even Lightning Pandas themselves have said they're one of the teams they're worried about in this group because of the pace that they play, and they play so unpredictable. LP feel confident going up against G2. They feel confident going up against Envy because they know how they play. They can outpace them. But Metals and this Heretics team are very, very fast. They could potentially finish top 2 here if they catch out G2 and Envy. If they don't, I think they've got a decent shot of making it a run through this bracket. But it'll be interesting to see. The only issue for me is that they did seem to run out of steam. They looked very good all the way through the open. They smoked most people that we've seen. They beat FC Black, I think, as well. And they were a solid team throughout that open bracket. And Heretics made them look silly. And if they do run out of steam, they could be in trouble. But I think there is potential for Heretics to cause some upsets in this group. So my player to watch from Heretics is Metals. Keep an eye on these guys, absolutely. Now, Tainted Minds, I'm going to brush over because I really do feel sorry for these guys. The roster's really been picked apart at this point, hasn't it? it's a case of Mind Freak. If they want to make a change, they go to Tainted Minds. That's where they go. They're the second best team in Australia. It has to be the route they go down. But they really have been picked apart. I'm going to pick Swifters for my player to watch. They've got new guys on this team, but I don't really know a great deal about them. They could potentially have potential, but we just really don't know. Tainted Minds absolutely have downgraded, though. As I said, lost players to Mind Freak, so it's going to be very, very hard for them. Swifters, I'm going to put there for his experience. He's been around for a very long time in Australia. Had a couple of stints on other teams and done decent enough. But for me, I think Tainted Minds could potentially be in the bottom 2 here. I feel as if Fact could go above them. They've, as said, been completely stripped apart in the off-season in between Vegas and coming up to Pro League Qualifier. I feel bad for them because last year we seen them make a decent little run and managed to make it to Pro League, but I don't see it happening again. I think Tainted Minds are going to struggle, but if they aren't going to count on anything, it will be experience, and that's what I'm going to talk about with these last 2 teams as well. It really comes down to experience and handling the moment for a lot of these teams, because a lot of people can shoot their gun. However, you need to keep a cool, calm head when you're going up against some of these very good teams. Now, I do believe Swifters potentially does have that experience to help guide his team through. I think it's going to be a struggle for them, but if Tainted Minds want to make Pro League, they need the experience of Swiftazor to prevail. So my player to watch from Tainted Minds is going to be Swiftazor. Now, let's move on to Fact, because Fact, I put them in 5th in this group. I feel as if they will make it to the qualifier. And I'm going to say Sunny B is their guy to watch. Now, they've got plenty of talent around them. They've got guys on there from the Vitality roster and Champs last year, people like Chain and Maple, who can do damage. We know they can. Let's just bring out their full roster. I always forget it. It's Defrag, Chain, Maple. Oh my god, this is very, very underprepared from me. Here we go. We'll find them in a second. Where the hell have you gone, Fact Revolution? I'll find them. Here we go. And they don't have the roster link on there. Anyway, Fact is, I'm pretty sure. Oh my god, I'm having a stinker here, boys. I'll not lie to you. Here we go. Fact Revolution. So it is Sunny B. It is Chain, Defrag, Maple, and Cammy. Cammy was the last guy that I was struggling to remember, but they've got plenty of talent around them. Sunny B, though, has that experience to help guide these young guns. We've seen these guys have a decent enough time around Tommy, or 2 of them at least, at Champs in that Vitality squad. If they can get that experienced head to guide them through, they have a good chance of making it quite far. I think it'll be a little bit of a struggle to make Pro League. I think they may fall at the final hurdle, the second last hurdle, but I do believe they will make it into the bracket, I should say. I think they'll pip Tainted Minds and Giants, who I'm going to speak on in a second. But I feel as if Sunny B is, as said, the experience here. We know he's a good player as well, has that experience, could potentially be the leader that they need to guide them through. I think it's a long shot for them, but they have a tiny, tiny chance, I feel, Fact Revolution. So let's see if they can do it. My player to watch from Fact Revolution is Sunny B. Now, let's move on to Giants, but for me, I have them rock bottom of this group. I do not see them getting very far. I just don't see where they get a win. They lost against Fact in Vegas, and that makes things difficult straight away because they're the team only just one above them. And then everybody else, you would argue, has more experienced rosters. Tainted Minds could struggle. Them against Fact determines where 5th lies. But for me, Giants are rock bottom of this group. I just think they could... I just don't see where they go. Tahor is going to be my guy to watch because he has the experience. And as I said, I want to harp on about these last 3 teams. They have experience there in little parts, and they're going to need a call on that if they want to do something. Because I think, if you could potentially maybe try and do something different in your games, cause some problems for teams, then they could potentially do something here, Giants. But I just don't see it really happening. I said they lost to Fact at Vegas, and I don't see Fact losing that one again. At all, sorry. They didn't lose previously, of course, but I don't see Fact losing that one. I don't see them beating Tainted Minds. I really don't see them beating their counterparts in Spain, Heretics. I absolutely not going to beat G2, not going to beat Envy, and not a hell's chance they're going to beat LP. I think Giants are... This is as far as they go. They probably finish bottom of this group. Sorry to end on a negative as we do finish this one off. But Group B is a super interesting one. I think the top 4 could go either way. I do think LP are pretty much... absolutely my favorites for number 1 here, but I do think Envy G2 should finish second, but Heretics could definitely cause some problems. We will see. But let's just run through my players to watch from each of these teams in Group B. So Lightning Pandas is Alex, Envy is Hook, G2 is Methods, Heretics is Metals, Tainted Minds is Swiftazor, Fact is Sunny B, and Giants Gaming is Tahor. Guys, let me know what you think of my picks from these teams. Who do you think will finish top of this group? Who do you think will finish second? Do you think Giants are going to be at the bottom? Do you think Fact are going to be second bottom? Do you think Tater Minds can maybe make a run and prove me wrong? Do you think Heretics could potentially do something in this group, potentially finish in the top 2? And I think they've got a small chance. I do think it'll be G2 or NV joining LP in that top 2 spot, but Heretics could cause problems. Let me know what you think. Is there anybody else we need to be watching from these teams? Either way, guys, you can check out Group A's video. I'm going to try and link it here somewhere. If I don't link it here, it's in the description if you didn't catch that one. But we're going to have Group C. We're going to have Group D coming on Monday and Tuesday because I'm busy through the rest of the week. As you can imagine, I might be flying somewhere. Who knows? Who knows? But anyway, guys, thank you very, very much for watching. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you can as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and we will see you for the next video.